We're in a series on how to be a new you in the new year, a new me in the new year. It's a look at the 5 most common areas where people would like greater health and wholeness, and the Bible's most common prescription for achieving that. So each week, we've looked at one area coupled with the single most frequently offered biblical counsel on getting healthier, stronger in that area. So far, we've looked at mental health and the Bible's call to pursue intentional community for better mental health. Then we looked at physical health and the Bible's counsel to watch what we eat, and it kind of honed in specifically on sugar. Last week, we looked at professional health, vocational health, and the Bible's vision for approaching our work with a deep and profound sense of calling as worship unto God. Today, we come to an area that, along with losing weight, is usually among the most common New Year's resolutions, and it has to do with financial health. And it's not hard to see why. I mean, it's not just that some people are struggling financially, but that there are a lot of people who just aren't in a place of financial security, and financial strength. They're in financial distress or anxiety about their lives. You might be paying your bills, for example, and making ends meet, but you're doing it paycheck to paycheck with little or no savings. Or you have a lot of debt, and which is just, you're spending all that you make on that, which leaves little or no margin. Bankrate did a survey and found that less than half of Americans have enough savings to cover even an unplanned expense of $1,000. Say, you have an unexpected car repair or something. Only 4 out of every 10 could cover that. The rest, meaning the majority of people, would have to turn to a credit card, a personal loan, or ask for help from family or friends. According to a 2022 TIAA financial wellness survey that actually just came out, 6 out of every 10 Americans aged 18 and older are stressed about their finances. 6 out of every 10. And that jumps to 74% for millennials and goes up to 75% for Generation Z. Only 22% of all Americans age 18 and older would rate their financial wellness as high. The biggest concerns are things staring people in the face, like having the means to take care of their family, not having to worry about money or debt, feeling protected financially from life's unexpected events. All of that is so pressing for the vast majority of Americans that surveys show the average person's not even thinking about retirement. I mean, they're just so consumed with the financial challenges that they're facing right now. There was a survey by Marcus, which is a brand or a part of Goldman Sachs, that drilled down even deeper. When they asked Americans about their financial health, only 5% said rock solid. Just 5%. 1 in 4 described it as out of shape. Almost half called it a work in progress. They also found that the most popular goal for 2022 New Year's resolution was, man, I need savings. Well, then there are those, kind of ironically, or almost counterintuitively, actually would be a better way of putting it, that it's never been better. COVID has been very, very good to some people. You may have been in a business or industry that capitalized in some way on the last 2 years. Maybe you owned a mask making company or something. Or maybe you just benefited from stimulus payments that allowed you to clear out debt and maybe build up some savings. Or you may have been able to leave a lower paying job for a higher paying job because of the demand there. The pause in student loan payments may have been strategic for you, or the monthly child tax credit. But all of that is now ended or is ending soon. Monthly tax credit is gone. No more stimulus checks seem to be on the way. Student loan payments crank back up in May. Your increase in salary may have been offset with, the rising inflation causing higher prices at the gas pump and at the grocery store. Add it all up, and even if COVID was really good to you, you might be fearing you're heading right back to where you were before COVID brought that financial relief. So I think most of us are in the same boat. We would like to experience better financial health, better financial security. So what's the Bible's big idea? Well, before we get into that, let me tell you something about the Bible and money you may not have known. There are more verses in the Bible about money than there are heaven and hell combined. Verses on financial peace and achieving financial freedom, and verses dealing with, effective money management. So out of all the Bible has to offer, what is the one big idea that is talked about the most? If you could just put forward the one thing it would advocate first and foremost to bring increased health and wholeness to your finances. And some of you are thinking, okay, here it comes. He's going to say giving. That if I give, God will give to me, and that's the big idea. Nope. The Bible obviously teaches that we should be generous givers out of all that He's given to us, and that there are blessings tied to generosity for our lives, and some of those can be financial in nature. But with the Bible, it's interesting. That's kind of a given. It assumes that if you're, coming to its pages, that you're a theist, not an atheist. You're a Christ follower. You're not a Christ rejecter, and that you obviously are already generous. And why wouldn't you be in giving to the one who's given so much to you? So it kind of is a given. It assumes people know that, or at least that those that believe in God and follow Christ. So the heart of its financial teaching is things that can't be assumed. It's going to assume generosity. But here's what it doesn't assume, and is therefore its biggest financial counsel. Become your own bank. Does that surprise you? Which means you don't go to a bank to borrow money. You borrow from yourself. You have your own reserves. And there are two keys to becoming your own bank, both of which are taught about extensively in the Bible. Avoid debt, and if you've got it, get out of it, and build up savings. That's how you become your own bank. Now let's talk about both, beginning with debt. Here's a primer on what the Bible teaches. In the book of Proverbs, it says, the rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. In the book of Romans, it says, don't run up debts. Then from the teaching of Jesus came this money analogy. Don't begin until you count the cost. For who would begin construction of a building without first getting estimates and then checking to see if there is enough money to pay the bills? Now, when you look at verses like that, is the Bible saying that all debt, no matter what it is for, is bad? No. Debt in general is frowned upon in the Bible, is not a good money, strategy, but it doesn't prohibit it in each and every circumstance. In fact, in normal economic times, you can make a strong case, both financially and biblically, that accepting debt toward an appreciable asset like land, a house, a building, or perhaps in connection with a well-thought-through business loan that provides you with some working capital to start a business, or maybe to fund an education that will lead to a promising career, is not only appropriate, but at times even strategic. But that's not the kind of debt most people are enslaved by. What most of us are drowning in is consumer debt, lifestyle debt, debt for convenience and pleasure and fun and toys. It promises to free us up instantly to get what we want, instant gratification without a downside. We don't have to wait. But it's a lie. All it does is enslave us in a life of bondage. And you might be feeling that bondage right now. Debt is eating up every available dollar you have that could go toward savings or giving, that could go toward down payments on a house or for retirement. It's impacting your marriage, causing stress and friction there. It's lowering your self-esteem. Every aspect of the quality of your life is being affected by this. You have become the servant to the lender, the slave to the creditor, the one in bondage to the debt you carry. So how do you get out of it? Well, let me give you the simplest, fastest way around, a plan every financial counselor almost universally signs off on as the best, quickest way to get out of debt. It's called the Snowball plan. Here's how it works. First, swear off adding to your debt. None of this is going to be of any use if you just keep using debt to live above your means. So that has to end. But then take all of your existing debts, from the MasterCard to the Visas, mortgage payments to cars, college loans to furniture, TVs to appliances, and rank them from the smallest down to the largest. And let me show you what that might look like. I totally just made this list up, but it's just to make a point. Now, once you get your own list, start off with your smallest balance and tackle it first. Here, on this list that I made up, it would be the gas card where $400 is your balance and $60 is your minimum payment. Work on paying it off. Don't worry about all the others. Just make minimal payments on those. Start with your smallest and get aggressive with it and it alone. Put everything you can toward that until it's gone. So if you get a little raise this year, maybe make your payment up from 2% to 4% or even higher. If you get a tax rebate, use that. If you get a windfall of any kind, put it toward it. Have a yard sale and put it toward it. Take everything you can, put all your energies toward paying that one bill off. Then, when it's gone, and it'll go away pretty fast because it's your smallest balance and you're putting all of your effort toward it, take what you were paying toward it and put it toward the next smallest balance. And then make that your concentration. Let's go back to my bill list. You paid off your gas card, which was $60 a month. Here's where it gets fun. Now you take that $60 and you add it to the next biggest, which is the MasterCard. You were paying $70 a month minimum on that, but now you add the $60 to it, and now you're paying $130. That's almost double what you were paying before. And you just keep paying that $130 until it's gone. And then you take that $130, which was the $60 from the gas card and the $70 from the MasterCard, and you add it to the next biggest, which on our list is your Visa. You were paying $200 a month on that, so you add it all in, and now you're paying $330 a month toward that. Now, the more you do this, the bigger and faster it goes, and that's why it's called the Snowball plan, because what you pay toward debt keeps getting bigger and moves faster as you eliminate previous debts, but then you throw in what you were paying into the next. And by the time you get to something big, like a student loan or a car, you're paying a lot of money toward it. It'll be slow at first, but then it builds with incredible speed toward getting completely out of debt. Most people overestimate what they can do in a year, but they grossly underestimate what they can do in, say, 3 years. The Snowball plan is just like magic. Well, we're still not our own bank yet, though, are we? That takes not only getting out of debt, but building up your savings. And the Bible's big on savings. In the collection of wisdom in the Bible known as the Proverbs, it has this to say: "You lazy fool, look at an ant. Watch it closely. Let it teach you a thing or two. Nobody has to tell it what to do. All summer it stores up food. At harvest, it stockpiles provisions." And then later in the 21st chapter of Proverbs, it says, "The wise man saves for the future. The foolish man spends whatever he gets." And then in Genesis, the first book of the Bible, we read that God directed a man named Joseph to lead the people of Egypt to save for 7 years out of their surplus to prepare for a 7-year period of famine. That was God's plan for their rescue. I want you to save. Let me read what God told Joseph to say. "The next 7 years will be a period of great prosperity throughout the land of Egypt. But afterward, there will be 7 years of famine, so great that all the prosperity will be forgotten in Egypt. Famine will destroy the land. This famine will be so severe that even the memory of the good years will be erased. Therefore, Pharaoh should find an intelligent and wise man and put him in charge of the entire land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh should appoint supervisors over the land and let them collect 1/5 of all the crops during the 7 good years. Have them gather all the food produced in the good years that are just ahead and bring it to Pharaoh's storehouses. Store it away and guard it so there will be food in the cities. That way there will be enough to eat when the 7 years of famine come to the land of Egypt. Otherwise, this famine will destroy the land." The importance of saving is all through the Bible. And the reason is to care for our future needs. It's not just wealth building or affluence or materialistic gain. It's street smart pragmatism. It's about security. It's about providing for our needs, because without savings, you end up living hand to mouth with little or nothing in reserve. You're not your own bank. You're at the mercy of banks. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This all sounds good, and it all is good. You just can't find the money to start snowballing your debt, much less to throw in saving. But the fact is, if you could just even save $10 a day, just 5 days a week, it would turn things around. Yeah, just $200 a month. Maybe put 50 of that toward your first snowball and maybe 150 in savings or 100 each, and then just watch that savings start to grow and the snowball begin to grow. And I know some of you are going to say, I can't even find $10 a day, 5 days a week. Well, if you've heard me teach on this before, you know where I'm going, because I bring it up, periodically in such series. It's something I got from the writings of financial advisor David Bach. He calls it the Latte factor. The big idea is that we really do have the money to save or to start a snowball, but we just waste it. And usually on things that it doesn't even register in our thinking that money's going out. Here's how he started thinking about the latte factor. He was giving a seminar and he was talking about the importance of saving, even $10 a day, 5 days a week. And a couple came to him after hearing that recommendation and they said, we don't even have the money to do that. They said they were so tight, they couldn't even find $10 a day. So he just kind of started to ask them some questions. He said, well, let's just walk me through a day. Let's just start in the morning. Before you go to work, do you drink coffee? And I said, yeah. He said, great. Well, where do you get that coffee? Do you make it at home or do you get it free at the office? And they said, well, neither. We go through the drive-thru at Starbucks. He said, okay, what do you get at Starbucks? And they said, well, we both get grande non-fat lattes. When he asked how much those were, the wife said about $3.50 each, so maybe about $7. And he said, well, do you get anything to eat with those lattes? And he said, well, yeah, we usually get a bagel or a muffin, and that's about, $3 each, $6, I guess, total. So he said, okay, let's add this up. $7 for 2 lattes, $6 for the muffins. We're at $13 between the two of you, and you haven't even gotten to work yet. And he began to go through the rest of the day and kept finding dollar after dollar after dollar being spent in ways that really they weren't even paying attention to. When he got done with them, they were spending like almost $80 a day between lunches, takeouts, coffees, snacks, bottled water. Bach then gave an example of just what it was like for this one woman, a typical day for a 27-year-old woman. Let me throw this up so you can follow along. In her case, when she sat down and thought about a typical day, it started off with a morning double shot latte at $4.50. She would also get a muffin with it, so another $2.75. Mid-morning, she would take a break, pick up an organic juice. That was $7. Lunch was bought at the cafeteria at work, which jacked the prices up, but it was convenient, so there was $14. After lunch, she got another bottled water for $1.50. Grand total, $29.75, almost $30 one day. Now, here's the point. This isn't about dropping Starbucks. The latte factor is a metaphor. In fact, I can tell you with absolute conviction that ridding your life of caffeine is not of God. It's about this idea that you can't even find $10 a day to save or $10 a day to go toward a snowball. We're spending so much more than that on things we just don't have to. If we made our own coffee at home, if we brought an apple instead of, from home, instead of buying a muffin, if we brought our lunch to work, even a few days a week, if we took the Lynx rail downtown instead of driving and not paying parking, we would rack it up. Let me throw some averages for you to see. This was pre-pandemic, but you'll get the point. The average American spends $1,100 a year on coffee, or $3 a day. In North Carolina, the average person spends over $2,000 a year commuting, $2,250. And the most recent study I could find, which was in 2015, so it's dated, but it's obviously would be higher now. We spend just over $1,000 a year, or around $20 a week, eating out for lunch. See, when it comes to saving or snowballing debt, it comes down to often, for most of us, not a lack of money. It comes down to decisions, choices with the money we have. Most people are in trouble with debt or lack savings because of their lifestyle. In fact, studies show that the number one thing we're doing instead of saving is we're choosing to just go and eat out at a restaurant. Well, let's say you strap this on. Let's say you drop HBO or you get it cheaper with an online package or go off cable and use a Fire Stick. Maybe you just start to turn off lights when you leave a room. You use coupons at the grocery store that you used to throw away. You turn the thermostat up a degree in the summer and down a degree in the winter. You make coffee even once a week instead of buying it every single day. You refill a water bottle instead of buying one every time you need one. Now hang on, because this one's radical, I know, but you cook. I know. It's hard to think about, but rumor has it some people do it. However you do it, let's say you scrape up that $10 a day, that 5 days a week. What would that do? You may say, well, what difference would that make? Well, $50 a week, $200 a month. Oh, more than you could possibly imagine. In fact, this is one of the most important financial insights you can ever wrap your head around. One that financial money managers know only too well, and they work their tails off to try to get across to people, but for whatever reason, it so often just doesn't connect. It's a biblical idea, actually, captured in Proverbs 13:11, which says, "He who gathers money little by little makes it grow." That's a profound secret to wealth building. Take a little bit of money, start it growing. If you invested in a pre-tax account, financial money management experts call it the miracle of compounding interest. Let me show you what that's about. If you were to save just $10 a day, and not even every day, just 5 days a week, which is about $200 a month or $2,400 a year, and you put that into a pre-tax retirement account that earned 10% annually, and the average market return, by the way, based on the S&P 500 for the last 30 years, from 1991 to the year 2020, found an average return of 10.72%. You'd have almost $4,000 put away in a year. You'd have almost $8,000 put away in 2 years. In 5 years, you'd have $23,000. In 10 years, over $60,000. In 15 years, you'd have almost $125,000. 30 years, almost $700,000. And in 40 years, if we go back to that, typical 27-year-old gal that Bach was walking through the Latte factory with, you take a 27 and you work 40 years till, say, 67, you'd have almost $2 million on $50 a week. That's it. A latte here, bringing your lunch there, it's just not that hard to do. Well, we've done, obviously, an entire series at Meck that you can get through the grounds that goes into even more detail about debt reduction and savings plans and what a financial plan overall would look like for your life that would really bring freedom. One we did just a couple of years called Breaking Free. I asked the tech team to go ahead and put back, our communications team, go ahead and put back on the app so that it's available to you for free, and you can work through the Breaking Free series. That we took 5 weeks to walk through a lot of biblical principles about financial freedom. But get the heart of the Bible's big counsel on becoming financially healthy. Become your own bank. Get out of debt. Don't borrow again unless it's from yourself, and position yourself to be able to do that by building up your savings, not just for retirement, but for now. Because God really does want financial freedom for you. He doesn't want you to have anxiety. He doesn't want you to have stress. He doesn't want you to have fear in your final years on this planet, however long or short they might be. That's why there's so much in the Bible about money. He wants us to become financially free, which means increasingly financially self-sufficient. Or as I put it, becoming increasingly your own bank.